everyone. It's Maria from Still Dreaming Homestead. Glad you're back with me, and I'm going to read in the right book this time. Dooger, the Grasshopper Hound. So last time we read in this book, they found a stray dog right on the yellow line. It's mostly bloodhound. I'll kind of show you. If you can see that picture, that's kind of what a bloodhound looks like. Okay, the pup gets a name. DJ sat uncomfortably on a footstool in the living room of the 3-bedroom house his stepmother and dad had rented when they got married. It was a very neat home for a logging community. There were lots of loving touches, with cheerful pictures and little trinkets on top of heavy old furniture. Dad stood at the window, hands locked behind his powerful back, looking out over the little mountain community of Stony Ridge. DJ's new stepmother sat stiffly on the edge of her green wingback chair across from DJ. Her blue eyes blinked rapidly as if she were trying to keep from crying. She shook her head so her short hair glistened in the afternoon sun coming through the open screen door. Her hands fluttered like nervous birds trying to fly off in different directions at once. She was a nice-looking woman, almost pretty, except she was 15 pounds overweight, DJ decided. She said, "DJ, I'm sorry. Believe me, I am. It's been all I could to have your one dog around. But I'd keep that pup outside with Hero. I just can't do it, dear. We'd end up with huge doctor bills. If my allergies start flaring up, you wouldn't want that, would you?" DJ looked. He took a deep breath and slowly let it out before answering. "No, of course not, Mrs. Higgins. To Mom," she corrected him gently. "Remember, I'm Mrs. Dillon now, and you agreed to call me to Mom." The boy nodded. He hadn't been able to call any other woman Mom except his mother. After some experimenting with names, they decided his stepmother was his second mom, and the short form of to Mom was worked out. He got up slowly from the footstool where he had been sitting. The boy looked at Dad. He hadn't said anything since they'd returned home, and DJ had told to Mom about finding the pup and asked if he could keep it. Dad cleared his throat. "Where are you going, DJ?" "I thought I'd go to my room and get on some of my stories. Maybe mail them to the newspaper editor. Then I'll walk over to Alfred's. Maybe his parents will let him have the pup." The boy walked through the living room door into the hallway that led to the bedroom. He caught a glimpse of Priscilla, his 9-year-old stepsister. She was just disappearing into her bedroom directly across the hall from his. DJ thought she was beginning to look like a spring colt, all long-legged and a little awkward. She looked more like her late father. By late father means her dad, who had died in the logging accident. Mr. Higgins had worked with Dad in the timber before he was killed in a logging accident. Pris was always very neat, except for her brown hair. To DJ, it looked like an untidy eagle's nest had fallen on a fence post. Once DJ had told his mother that Pris's eyes were brown like her hair, but her soul was black. That had upset DJ's mother. She said it wasn't Christian to judge other people. Pris turned in the doorway, closing the door just enough so DJ could see her as he came, even with the door. She made a face at DJ and whispered, "Nah, nah, nah. You can't keep that little pup. I am glad." DJ felt anger flash over him, but he controlled the impulse to say anything. He entered his room and stopped dead still. Oh no! In a minute, he hurried into the living room and held up his yellow-lined notebook. "Look, she's done it again." "Done what?" Two Mom asked, frowning. "Messed up my stories. Look." He shook the yellow sheets so the adults could see. "The pages are all mixed up and everything. It'll take hours for me to sort them out." Two Mom's hands fluttered anxiously. "I'm sure she didn't mean any harm, dear." "That's not the point," DJ flared. "I don't mess in her room. Why should she come in my room and touch my things?" Two Moms said, "They're just papers, DJ." "Just papers?" he cried. "They're not just papers. I spent hours trying to write things just right, and look what she's done." Two Moms sighed. "I'll speak to her again, DJ." Dad turned from the window and spoke quietly but firmly. "Perhaps I'd better speak to her this time, Hannah." DJ was surprised to see his stepmother's eyes snap. She opened her mouth quickly and then shut it firmly. She nodded slowly. "Very well, Sam." The boy went back into his room and straightened out the papers. In a moment he heard Prissa's voice. "You're not my father. You can't make me do anything." DJ stopped and listened. He expected to hear a smack because that's what he would have received if he had ever dared talk back to his dad. Instead, the boy heard his father say with controlled anger, "Priscilla, you're grounded for 1 week." Do you know what grounded is? Grounded is when you have to stay home. You can't go visit your friends. You could go to school, but you're grounded. Sometimes you get grounded even to your room. In a moment, DJ heard Dad come out of the girls' room and close the door. Dad's footsteps fell heavily in the hallway. DJ thought, "He's mad. But maybe the Lord did touch his heart, so he's not going to lose his temper like he used to." As DJ walked outside to get the pup and Hero, the boy heard Dad and Two Moms' voices from the kitchen. They were speaking low, but the words were fast and firm. DJ thought they were having their first argument since they'd gotten married. The boy sighed and put a chain on Hero and a leather leash on the red pup. Boy, Grandpa had been right before the wedding when he said it was going to take some doing to make 2 ready-made families into 1 new one. In front of the small post office, DJ ran into the newspaper editor from the county seat. "Hi, Mr. Kirsten. I was just going to mail you these." The boy extended some pages folded letter style, then stooped down to fasten the dog's leads to the post. Elmer Kirsten was a tall, slender man with stooped shoulders from many years of leaning over a typewriter. He was bald, except for a ring of pure white hair that ran just above his ears and around back of his head. He had what Grandpa had called Dunlap middle because it had Dunlapped over his belt, so he had a belly. "Hello, DJ," the newspaper man was both editor and publisher of the county weekly. "I was in Stony Ridge to sell a few ads. Say, you've written quite a few words here. Sure would be nice if you could somehow get them typed." "If it was anybody but an aspiring author, I'd refuse to accept handwritten pencil notes." The newspaper editor and the boy had met after DJ asked his 8th grade teacher how a person got to be a famous author. Mr. Bezai, the teacher, had wisely said he didn't know, but why not ask the newspaper publisher? Mr. Kirsten had recalled interviewing a couple authors. Both had said the smartest thing they'd ever done was start out working as newspaper reporters. So DJ and the editor had worked out a deal. The boy would get his name or byline on everything he wrote and was published. He also got paid a small amount of money for each inch of printed copy. Mr. Kirsten stuck DJ's pages into a small plastic briefcase. Got yourself another dog, have you? I found him on the road, but I can't keep him. I can only have Hero. I remember the story we carried when that hair-pulling dog and you were heroes. Remember? I remember. Well, DJ, try not to have any more scary adventures with this little red pup. Wow, it is really blowing outside. I've got to give him away. Maybe my friend Alfred will take him. Well, now, if your friend is smart, he'll accept the red pooch as a gift. Why, he's about as good-looking hound as I've ever seen. See you later, DJ. The boy reached out and touched the man's arm. Mr. Kirsten, what do you think about me doing a story about these forest fires? I've been thinking about doing that myself, but there just hasn't been time to do more than report the latest damage they're done and what they're doing to catch the firebug. Tell you what, DJ, I'll call the California Department of Forestry Emergency Command Center for you. It's here in Stony Ridge. If they agree, I'll get word to you and you can go ahead. Say, any chance you'll get a telephone now that you got a new family and live almost in town? I don't know, DJ said. I'll ask Dad. Well, thanks, Mr. Kirsten. I sure hope I can do that fire story. The boy walked on, pleased at how well the red pup followed on a light leash. Obviously, he had been partially trained in obedience. Hero, of course, was nearly 2 years old and well-trained. The boy reached his friend's house, Alfred's house, and tied Hero to the foot of the steps. DJ picked up the pup and carried him up to the door. When Alfred opened the door to DJ's knock, he shoved the red pup into his friend's hands. Look what I found, Alfred. Hey! Alfred exclaimed, holding the pup up and looking at him through thick glasses. A new dog, Bloodhound, huh? Mostly, I think, DJ said, a dash of Redbone too, probably. He's so ugly, he's beautiful. Sort of like Hero. So scruffy, he's cute. At least that's what Kathy Stagg, Brother Paul's daughter, says. Well, what do you think, Alfred? Looks like quality breeding. Where'd you get him? DJ quickly told about finding the pup in the roadway and what his new stepmother had said. So, DJ concluded, Grandpa doesn't want this pup, and I can't keep him. You want him? Alfred's eyes widened behind his thick glasses. At nearly 13, Alfred was so thin, his rib cage always showed through his clothes. He had always been a shy boy until he met DJ. Alfred was a great reader and never seemed to forget anything. He didn't like being called the brain, but he was so smart some kids called him that anyway. Alfred pushed his thick glasses up with the thumb of his right hand. You mean you're giving him to me? If your parents will let you have him. Alfred pursed his lips and frowned. Looks as if his nose is made for trailing, he said, holding the pup's muzzle in both hands to get a better look. DJ chuckled. Wouldn't be much of a hound without a nose, would he? Alfred's little brother, Ralph, entered the room with a handful of crayons and a sheet of paper. Ralph was almost 7. He was called Tag because Alfred said he was just a tag-along person and kind of a nuisance. Alfred didn't like that much, but it was obvious Alfred liked his little brother, even though Tag had a strong mind of his own. Alfred said, "Come see the puppy, Tag." The little boy came close. "What's his name?" DJ shook his head. "Doesn't have a name yet." "Dog," Tag said. "His name is Dog." Alfred ruffed his little brother's tousled dark hair. "That's no name for a dog." Tag shrugged. "Okay, then how about Doog?" "No, I know. It's Dodger." DJ laughed. "That's not much better, Tag." "Dodger," Tag insisted, pointing his small, slender forefinger. He dropped the crayons and the paper and advanced uncertainly towards the pup. Alfred sucked in his breath. "Well, DJ, you've got to admit, Dodger is better than Spot or Rags or something. Tell you what, I'll check with Mom. If she says I can keep him, then Tag can name him anything he wants." DJ watched the little boy playing with the pup. They rolled on the floor together, the dog grabbing Tag's shoe with sharp little teeth. The pup growled and shook his head, and his long ears fairly popped. They were just going bloop, bloop, bloop. DJ's eyes were shining with hope. "Mom says it's okay with her if it's okay with Dad. He'll be home at 6. DJ wet his lips. He didn't want to give up that little red pup, but it was better to let Alfred and Tag have him than anybody else. DJ pointed. "Would you look at those two? It's love at first sight." "Good. Now maybe that pesky little brother of mine will stay out of my business," Alfred said. DJ thought of Priscilla and wished she'd do the same for him, but DJ decided not to bring that up just now. "Let's let them play," DJ said, motioning to the pup. "And, small boy, I want to talk to you about a story I'm thinking of doing." "Something exciting, I hope." "Could be," DJ admitted, walking out on the front door to sit on the top step. "I'd like for us to capture the guy who's setting all these forest fires." That sounds pretty dangerous. That's the end of chapter 2. The pup gets a name. So tomorrow we'll be reading chapter 3, A Stranger Called Bones. That's a strange name for a person. So I just want to tell you again, I love you. I really do. But more importantly, God loves you, and He always will. So I hope you have a good day or night, depending when you're watching this. And I'll be with you again tomorrow reading the next chapter. All right, take care. God bless.